Hey, I'm Vince, and this is the RR Show, bringing you the best stories from the internet via Reddit. And one of the things we do on Reddit is we make sure that we get the permission from every single story author before we read them here on the show. It's important to do, and if you got a story you want to submit, you could do it at redditreadings.podcast@gmail.com. That's redditreadings.podcast@gmail.com. So this one, well, we got the permission, but the user deleted their account. So it's r/ProRevenge, and the title is, He Infringes My Art. I shut down his print shop and ruined his career.
A little backstory. I'm an online artist, and this took place when I was in my early 20s. There's a popular artist who calls himself a professional and works in the industries. I used to look up to him. Let's call him Zach. Lately, I noticed how Zach's art looked eerily too familiar to a piece of media I've seen before. So I looked up the images and found it too matched up to his art. He was directly referencing official art and profiting off of it by selling it on his print shops online. He didn't make any effort to make the reference detached from the original pieces. I confronted him about it, sending a detailed message not to do that, and the possible consequences. I've seen artists in real life who were sued for over $100,000, and to the extent of what this guy was doing, jail time. Instead of being professional and mature about it, he lashed out at me and took it to social media, telling me how wrong I was to falsely accuse him, since artists use references, and how I could get sued for libel. I was dumbfounded at how clueless he was, not comprehending what I was talking about. He included my username, which my blog had links to my contacts, my emails, Facebook page, art accounts, and Instagram. His fans, including his group of friends, joined in sending me downright horrific messages. I had panic attacks resulting from the pure backlash of his enormous fan base. I constantly received hate mail, telling me how horrible I was as a person, how shitty my art was, and to the extent of death threats for almost an entire month. The last straw that broke the camel's back was when he directly referenced off of my art and made money off of it. I didn't know how to find a lawyer, and I feel hopeless and angry that I couldn't do anything about it. Later, it hit me. If I can't do anything about it, then maybe another artist can, or anyone who holds the copyright. The last time I remembered, Zach never gave credit to any of these artists for his references. I looked into the art he'd referenced and examined each official company matching Zach's art. I used Google search to find anyone working for a said company, and voila, I found a staff member for a branch in a different continent. Let's call him Cody. I contacted Cody's Facebook and tipped him off about Zach's activity through Messenger. I uploaded and sent a copy of their art and Zach's art for comparison. Cody just simply replied, "We'll contact our legal team. Thanks for the notice." Another week passes by, and during this time he constantly posts to every damn thing I post about in my art blog. And then, silence. I checked his print shop. It was removed. His response to my message was taken down from his social media. He stopped talking to his friends publicly. Days later, a fan was asking about him, and he responded how he is no longer friends with them because they are very toxic hypocrites. One of his former group of friends contacted my friend and cried about how awful a bully he was. Of course, my friend didn't care. It was the most glorifying feeling I have ever rejoiced in. This would have all been avoided if he at least heeded my warning. How he handled the situation was not professional at all. About 5 years later, I've been informed that apparently he has had a tough time getting back into the industry after there were allegations of his past copyright infringement. The biggest one was having a lawsuit with the big company that Cody worked for. Okay, let's see here. So this next one is from DJ Duke of Spook. When your ex tells you to move out while she's on a work trip because the guy she cheated on you with is moving in, you get very creative moving out. I had originally posted this as a response to a question in r/unethical pro-life tips, and was told that this would be appreciated here. Enjoy. I did this to an ex who asked me to move out while she was on a work trip, and told me she was coming back with her new boyfriend. We were still together when she left. I got these little noisemakers, battery-powered ones, the size of a quarter, that emit sounds at just the right volume that you aren't sure if you really heard it. So quiet that two people could be sitting in an average-sized room, and while one can barely hear it, the other wouldn't hear a thing. They last ages and fit perfectly in light fixtures and in wall outlets. I got a box of 20 of them for like $100 on eBay and got so creative all over the house. Her car. I even hid them in a boat her father got her. Rich family, and she grew up sailing. Now these little bastards make a noise at completely random intervals. Could be minutes, could be hours, could take a whole day off. They cycle noises like children laughing, a dying breath as they called it, a whistle, scratching noises, some other ones I can't remember, but you get the idea. It was so unpredictable, it was near impossible for someone to just figure it out. Months go by. I get a new place and get my life back up. Now we had a few friends in common, and one of them I kept up with. They were kinda sour about how she ended things, but they had grown up together and kept up the friendship, loosely talking and catching up on occasion. I never really asked her about it, but one day we got to talking, and she's wanting to prank some friends on a camping trip. So I tell him about the noisemakers. As I'm telling him about them, he slowly starts making this face, like he's gradually losing his shit. He's got this huge grin on his face, and he asks me, "You put these in your ex's shit, didn't you?" And when I admit, he started laughing hysterically. Turns out her new boyfriend had only lasted a few months, and had left telling her that he couldn't handle whatever was going on with them and their mental states. Turns out, for a while they had both heard things, and sometimes only one of them would hear them, which gave the illusion that something really fucked up with them was going on in their heads at different times. They couldn't figure it out, and eventually he wanted out completely, and having run down all the crazy list of shit people who were hearing voices would think, ended it believing he had been infected with some brain worm the government was putting in vaccines or some shit like that. It was amazing. I hadn't expected to hear anything about it. I rode that train for weeks. When it went away, I got another hit of that high. She moved out, told her parents she didn't want the house, and to give it to her brother or sell it. Wouldn't tell them why. I always tell people who ask about her that I hold no grudge, and I don't tell them the part where I totally fucked with her so bad I overshot the got her backstage and hit the blissful state of satisfied with my work. My wife knows this story by heart because it's her favourite one to tell. So this one is from Renan003. Don't want to work on our assignment. Fine, neither do I. This happened a few years ago in college. I had a class about entrepreneur projects, and that semester was building a business on paper. Basically, we had to figure out what the business would be about, how it would work, and how much money it would need to make. I did this subject in a different class so I could have Fridays free, so I didn't know anyone in there except for one guy. Let's call him Mark. So I teamed up with Mark and other 3 leftover people to be our group. At first, things were working like a charm. Since we only cared about passing the subject and didn't give a crap about our grades, we would each do a part on an assignment. We had to deliver assignments each Wednesday, but we still got max scores on them. Our grade would basically be based upon all of our deliveries, plus some points on individual tests. Important info for later. Didn't take much time for things to go downhill. It reached a point on the project that basically we couldn't modulate the work anymore. The 5 of us would need to sit together and brainstorm about the next steps. More specifically, when we reached the point of how we would earn money with our business. Either that, or one person would have to do everything alone. My group chose the second option, and this would basically be happening for 6 weeks. On Friday, I would send a message on our WhatsApp group like, "Hey guys, we have to deliver X stuff on Wednesday. When do you want to meet?" Saturday, no responses. Sunday, the 2 checks would turn blue, meaning everyone read the message. No response. Monday, I would send a follow-up message. No response. Tuesday, I would work my ass and deliver it alone. Wednesday, 2 hours before the deadline, someone, usually Mark, would send a message, "Hey, do you guys want to do it?" Which I would answer, "It's already done." And they would thank me and promise to release me from doing anything on the next assignment, which wouldn't happen, and the cycle would continue. After 5 weeks, I was fed up and got in contact with the teacher. Her response was that it was too late to do anything now because she couldn't assign me to another group, and she couldn't give me special treatment. But she told me to check my grades because most likely I already passed the subject. I looked on it, and with my individual tests, plus what I already delivered on the project, I got a grade high enough to barely pass the subject. This was kind of fucked up, but all the individual tests, and projects as well, and the grades were public. So I saw that no one in my group had passed. The closest one was Mark, but he didn't deliver one of the individual tests, so he would still need to do something to pass. I could then and there be the bigger person and say something like, "Hey guys, I already passed the subject. Start doing something or I won't do anything anymore." But, I can be petty sometimes. On the 6th week, I didn't do anything. Wednesday arrived and Mark tagged me in the group asking if I did anything. I remained silent. Panic started arising, group members texting me in private. I removed the blue seen icon in my WhatsApp and would read the messages in airplane mode, so they wouldn't see me online when reading. Except for the group messages, because they would see that I read them regardless of leaving that setting on or off, so I didn't read them. Apparently, when you don't do anything related to the project in 5 weeks, it's hard to figure out what to do next. Deadline passes. I go to sleep. Class was at night at distance because COVID. Wake up the next day. Several name callings. Assignment not delivered and the group threatening to report me to the teacher. My answer was simple. Teacher's already aware. I'm not doing anyone's work other than mine. You can all go to hell. And left the group. At the end of the semester, only Mark and I passed. They got their turd together in the end, but not enough for the other deadweights to pass. It was the sweetest 6. Grades here go from 0 to 10. 6 is the bare minimum needed to pass I ever got. Mark never talked to me again. But that was for the best. This one is about dealing with a locker thief in high school, and is from the user Donakius. This was back in the early 2000s, probably 2003 to the 2004 school year. Throughout the entire year, there was a crime wave of people having things stolen out of their locked lockers. Not everyone, but enough that everyone knew someone it happened to. The school's only defense about this was that it was our fault for sharing locker combos with our friends. They also charged us every time we had to get the combination changed on a locker, like after a theft for instance, because it was assumed to be our fault. Well, I had my graphing calculator taken out of my locker. I also never gave out the combination to anyone. Mostly because my friends were jackasses and we pulled shit on each other all the time. So I was out $150 for the calculator and another $150 to change the combination. Getting a locksmith to change the lock? This is 2003 money, so it would be a bit more than that now. To anyone who ever had to buy a TI-86 in 2003 or 4, you'll know how much those things cost. Well, my dad was drinking buddies with one of the county detectives. I'll call him Detective Buddy, or Uncle Buddy. We went in to talk to the school about these string of thefts going on so he could get the security camera for the day my calculator went missing, and got completely brushed off as it was a non-existent problem, and, well, he must have given out his locker combination. The principal told him he would need a warrant to get the camera footage. Then, when he got the warrant, the school fought the warrant in court, citing student privacy. Cue the ProRevenge. Detective Buddy shows up at our house with a laptop in a laptop bag. He's like, "Hey, throw this in your locker and tell everyone you know about your brand new laptop." "Okay, sure, Uncle Buddy." 3 days later, I show up at my locker between classes, and the laptop is gone. The bag too, nowhere to be seen, as is a 24-ounce bottle of Coke and possibly some pens. I take my phone out and text him that the laptop got taken. "Stand by for the shit show. Oh, and you reported the theft to the police, FYI," he replies back. "Okay," I reply, confused. I go about the rest of my day and I don't hear anything back. The following morning, Detective Buddy comes to the school with 3 uniformed officers and pull a student, Dave, out of a class, as well as his mum who works in the front office. The principal is pissed. I don't actually hear the cops, but the principal was pissed to no end that he had the audacity to accuse them of the theft and he couldn't just take them out of his school, etc., etc. Well, turns out there was a tracker in the laptop bag and Uncle Buddy got a warrant to search a particular house. The laptop had a value of over $1,000, making it a felony. The next afternoon, he set up a tent with a table just outside of the school grounds. He also had a banner across the top. "If you've had something stolen from your locker, see me." By the next morning, Dave and his mum made the paper. Apparently, Dave allegedly used his mum's login info to get onto the school network and get the locker combinations for basically everyone. Then he just opened random lockers looking for valuables to steal if he didn't get info of a specific locker to steal from. When he set up the stand to get more people reporting thefts, he racked up an astounding number of charges. Each locker counted as a separate misdemeanor unless the stolen object was worth more than $1,000, in which case it was a felony. In less than a week, Uncle Buddy opened and broke an investigation, and they charged Dave and his mum with 9 felonies and 35 misdemeanor charges. When I finally got the story from Buddy, he explained what the situation was. He had me stash a brand new laptop that had a GPS tracking unit stuck in it into my locker to get it deliberately stolen, and then he got a warrant to search the property it had been taken to. Now, the important and fun thing to stress is that the laptop was over $1,000 in value, pushing the theft from a misdemeanor into a felony charge. There was also another 8 felony charges, stuff like jewelry that was stolen from other people's lockers and recovered. So any of the locker break-ins that amounted to over $1,000 stolen was a felony charge, and less than $1,000 was a misdemeanor. Cool thing, that was because the calculator and laptop were separate days, and the combination changed between the days, he caught a felony and a misdemeanor charge off of me alone. The 9 felony thefts ended up in the $12,000 range in total, and the 35 misdemeanor charges were somewhere in the range of $3,000. Now that is an awful lot of stuff stolen, but I need to stress that this is only what was proven stolen. Like, this is what they caught him with in his possession that they could trace back to someone. Next up on Revenge, everyone who had been charged $150 to get their locker combination changed sued the school district in a class action lawsuit. The justification was that the school did nothing to investigate the 44 proven and more than likely 200 plus cases of locker theft, and then charged money to get the locker combinations changed. There was 218 people in the class, and in total everyone got $85 after attorney's fees. The principal also lost his job for being a bonehead and not bothering to attempt with dealing with a massive problem that was reported to him going on at the school. The fun thing I need to point out is that the school brought in a locksmith to change out the locks. That's why they justified charging $150. Well, the school already paid the $150 a locker, but they also had to return $100 per locker, meaning they were out $2,100, plus their legal fees for that class action suit. Next comes the criminal trial and the fallout. The prosecutor's deal was 10 years in prison, 5 in juvie, 5 in adult prison for Dave, and 15 for Dave's mum. Well, they refused that deal and it went to trial. Dave got 1 year prison for each felony, the state minimum, and 1 month probation for each misdemeanor, so 9 years plus 35 months of probation. His mum received 18 years of jail and 6 years probation. Having attended much of the best part of the trial, I will say this. They had Dave on camera entering 20 plus lockers, and they had them in possession of stolen goods for every single charge they made against him. The judge was also not amused that there was likely other reported crimes that they got away with, because they couldn't prove it or they weren't reported. Dave's mum got it worse. That was a fun sentencing to show up for. But the most important thing is I got my graphing calculator back. It had my name engraved inside the battery compartment. I still have it, as well as a cool story to tell.
So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. Thank you to my producer, Kevin, and we'll see you next time here on The RR Show.